All right. According to my computer, it says we are live. Hey, Jay, do me a favor. Check YouTube or Facebook to see if you see me live. We got to always check these things out here because these internet streets be lying. Be lying. Plus, I think Facebook have me on restrictions. I don't think they be letting me go live because they know
I'm not going to talk about Facebook.
I'm about to kick off the revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were on punishment too.
This is my third 30-day punishment.
Okay, so I'm live. All right, cool. So it's working. All right, so big old bo. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's your boy. Come out. So let me start it off again. There's this guy called O'Shea Duke Jackson, right? And so I've been jocking his style. And he starts his podcast off. What does he say? Damn, I forgot what he says now. But he'd be like, "It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again." So I'm gonna start it off. What's up, Facebook? It's your boy, come out, back at it again with another episode of Sisters doing their thing internationally. So today we're bringing to the stage Sister Kim King. What's up, Sister Kim King? What's going on, Philly Jordan?
Good afternoon. The real
How you
Kim
be?
K.
How you do?
I'm good. I have no complaints.
You know, I like people with K's in their name because, you know, as you see right
It's a
there,
powerful letter.
I'm Kamal King. King
I'm
Kamal.
so good they gave me a man's job.
Woo-wee. No, see, here's the thing. One of my teachers, Master Netiyama, he is a grand teacher of Tantra, right? He's a master teacher of Tantra. And he's been saying this for like 20 years, that there's a devaluation of feminine energy in the modern world. And so the modern world has tried to replace genuine femininity with masculinity. And so women have had to take on, or felt like they had to take on, the energy of men. Whereas women by themselves, in and of themselves, are divine and need not take on attributes typically associated with manhood. And so I will say to you, Queen, you don't have to do a man's job. Doing a woman's job is enough.
Thank you.
Let us do the menial work of I don't know, whatever we do. We just procreate and
Whatever.
sit around and
Thank you for all that you do.
party and
Bullshit.
and party. I always look at the animal kingdom, right? So you see the female lion, she out there hunting, doing the thing, and the lion just
Chill.
sitting over there chilling. You know, when the hyenas come around, he go out and do his thing or whatever every now and again. But
Come back and lay right back down.
you know, and that's also typically how a lot of African societies used to be. Like women did most of the farming. Like my boy, you know, Kevin Samuels, peace be upon him, he used to talk all this stuff about women can't build houses. I'm like, yo, you clearly have not studied African cultures because women build houses. I mean, literally, and this is not getting on my polyamorous tip because, you know, whatever, right? Really, I really think the creator only put men here to chase off a lion every now and again and to procreate. Like, it is what it is. So the life is essentially feminine, right? We know that when you're born, you've got, what is it? The two Y chromosomes.
Everyone starts off as a female.
Right, and then with the little X, the little ding-a-ling come down, you become an X chromosome. We got men, so whatever. You know, I stay in my role, and you know, I'll just lift things up and put them down. I'll stay over in my lane. But today we got Sister Kim K, and in the tradition of the Kandakis, in the tradition of the female warriors out trotting new lands and doing things. Sister is doing some wonderful things in Central America in the place we call Belize, formerly British Honduras. This little jewel in Central America on the Caribbean coast. And so I met Sister Kim in a Facebook group where people are interested in buying land and living abroad. And so gotten to know her over the last couple of months. She be working me. She trying to buy land and just be picking my brain and trying to get me to do all kinds of stuff. But I decided to get the sister on here to go live. We are live and direct. I don't know if you know this right now. We are live on Facebook. Let me turn the camera so I can. Yeah, we are in fact live on Facebook and YouTube. We tried to do this before, y'all, but the computer gremlins would not let us do it. So we are on here on a Sunday. So I want to big up Kim for coming back, Queen Kim for coming back and having this conversation with me. And so we are just going to jump into it. And so my good friend, yes, my friend, my good friend, if you want to tell us tell the people them a little about yourself.
So I am a single, I want to say semi-retired Black woman. I will be retired probably within the next year.
She got a pension, y'all. For the brothers that's listening, she got a pension.
I mean, who's listening? Anywho.
We have two people listening right now.
Anywho, so I have purchased land abroad in Belize.
Hold up, wheel up, run it. You done skipped over a whole lot of other stuff.
What do you want to know?
You just a single Black woman. Oh, I'm just out here doing this. No. Tell the people a little bit about who you are.
Okay. I am a single Black woman, divorced for a long time, one child, a grandmother as well. And I have worked hard. I'm a veteran. I'm a first
What did you say you used to did? What you used to did when you was in the military?
I was a paratrooper in the military. That adventurous bug is gone.
Now, for the people them that don't know what a paratrooper is, can you tell the people what a paratrooper do?
I jumped out of airplanes for no good reason except to protect you.
Yo, big up, because I ain't jumping out of no perfectly working plane.
I was very young.
Okay.
Very young. Just I thought I was invincible. So anything goes at that point.
So former military, and your profession. I mean, I think you call yourself a first responder, right?
I'm a first responder. I am a police officer. So I've been a police officer now for 27 years.
She the popo.
So I'm not your average cop. I'm very rebellious, very Black Lives Matter. Have issues on the department with that. Being in the military way back in the day when it wasn't over flooded with women, and being on the department when it wasn't over flooded with women, I've experienced a lot from a woman's viewpoint and a Black woman's viewpoint. So it's been kind of difficult being a Black woman on a police department that loves Black people and loves Black men and is not afraid to voice that. So I've seen things on the inside. I've seen a lot of things, and it put a bad taste. I don't even want to say my mouth. It put a bad taste in my heart.
All right, and so this is going to help inform your decision for what we're talking about.
Absolutely, because in Belize, it's Black and brown. And ultimately, when I pass, I'll be able to leave something to my son and my grandson and whoever they love where they can go somewhere that's black and brown and be okay being black and brown.
So let's talk about your first of all your passion to travel. When did you first get that bug to be a traveler? And there are a lot of people that are afraid to get on planes. There are people that are afraid to
Absolutely.
drive from West Philly to Germantown. I mean, I know that's not too far, but
I know
there
people like that.
there are
Yes.
people that are really hood loyal, right?
Yes. Yes.
People that are state loyal, people that are coast loyal, people that don't want to get on planes and go across the coast. So, when did you get when did you get bit by the bug to travel and to
So
explore?
I think that happened when I was in the military. I joined at 17.
Hmm.
So I lived in Europe for about 3 years. And from Europe, in Europe you can take a train to another country.
Mm-hmm.
So in I was in Germany. In Germany, I traveled to Spain, I traveled to France, and I wanted to see a lot. I still do. It's many places that I want to see. So what happened was I'm not a cold weather person at all. If you have experienced a German winter, you have experienced true hell. It's nothing like a winter here on the East Coast, which we have brutal winters, but these winters are unexplainable. Like, why, God, why? But
Yeah, I've heard they measure in some parts of Europe. They measure snow by feet, not by inches, really.
oh, absolutely. And it's sometimes you come out in the winter and it hurts to take a deep breath.
There you go. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. All right. So you were sick of the cold weather in Europe, and so you're a
So
young person still.
I got out of the military at the age of 21. 21 came out, jumped right into school, became a paralegal. My goal was to become an attorney. So I became a paralegal. I interned for a little bit at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then I went to a private law firm. And one Christmas, I did not get the bonus that I wanted as a single parent, the bonus I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
On my way home, there was a kiosk that was handing out applications for the police department. I grabbed an application. 3 weeks later, I was in. But my goal was to stay on the police department, but continue on to law school.
Okay.
And I didn't. Here I am, 27 years later. But in any event, that once I got into the police department and I saw things going on, I really was no longer interested in countries that were not black and brown.
Okay. And so that's when you started to travel.
So that's when I started to travel to black and brown places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jamaica was my first love.
Hmm.
Jamaica, I've been to Jamaica about 22 times.
Jesus.
Um, and not for what men think women go to Jamaica for.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would go to Jamaica just for the weekend, just because I needed to dip in the ocean and cleanse my soul. So Jamaica was very therapeutic for me. Jamaica, the ocean, period.
Mm.
Um,
I see. I
so,
see. I see. I see.
so from
Oshun.
there, I took real estate trips. Not so much real estate trips. I still travel. I traveled to Aruba. I traveled to Cuba, Turks and Caicos, Antigua, um, a lot of places in the Caribbean I traveled to. And then I decided, maybe I could live in one of these places, because no matter where I went, they thought I was a native. So when I would go to Jamaica, they would say, "Welcome home. What parish are you from?" No, I'm not from a parish. And then I would go to the Dominican, and they would say, "No español." And then in Cuba, they would tell me I wasn't black. I was a Creole or mulatto Cuban. And then in Belize, when I went to Belize to visit on my second trip when I was looking for real estate, I asked the gentleman that was driving me to take me to where the black people were, which is Dengriga. And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I want to see where the black people are, the black people like me." And he was like, "You're not black, you're Creole." Which is crazy, because every country that I've been in, I'm only considered black in the United States.
Hmm. That's interesting. I have an interesting vibe about Creole and the Garifuna. in Belize. I used to say, I wanted to get me an original Garina Gu wife. And then I started to learn some stuff about. I used to think that the Creole was just what the colonizer, what he left behind. But there's this land movement now. I don't know if you watch Belize news or not, to try to get like a homeland for Creole, because they were the original. They are the folks that have been there the longest. They are just quote unquote descendants of those who were enslaved. And the Garinagu got down south, right? The Maya now have their places they're getting, but the Creole were the ones that were displaced the most and not given anything. No farmlands. They were just the ghettos of Belize City and Barrow Boom and some other places. So it's an interesting movement going on. But let's not get into the politics of the country. Continue with with what you're talking about.
So yes, I went on these real estate trips. I went to Jamaica, and I didn't like what I was seeing and what they were offering. The high amount of money they wanted for something in Jamaica. You know, I love Jamaica, and if there are any
Your
Jamaicans
original
listening,
yard gal.
if there are any Jamaicans listening, please don't be offended. You know, Jamaicans can be thieves. I love them, but woo, they have become very westernized.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Jamaica's a very hustle culture.
yes, and when you think of retirement and something better than the United States, you think of a slower pace. So you want something slower where you don't have to worry about being bamboozled 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of knocked that off.
Okay.
Um, Unfortunately, traveling to Cuba, Cuba is beautiful. Cuba, of course, is communist. But if you want property in Cuba, you have to have it in a Cuban's name,
Okay.
right? And I need everything. I need to know that it's mine so that I can pass it along.
Yeah, I heard it was the same way in Panama too, or some parts of Mexico, or something like that, where you have to get a local person to sort of sponsor you or open up a business and put the
Panama.
land in the business name. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so I was dating years ago. I was dating a Jamaican, and we were supposed to go to. We traveled together, but we were supposed to have a trip to Belize, but we parted ways before then. And when he came back from Belize, he called me to let me know you have got to visit Belize. Whatever you do, you got to get there. It's beautiful.
Okay.
So I made my way there. The first time I went, I didn't do much research. I just looked up Belize, and I was under the concept that Belize was an island. So the first thing I saw tourists was San Pedro, one of the keys on Enriquez Key. So that's where I made my hotel reservations. I stayed at the Victoria House, very posh spa-like hotel, just wonderful. And I had researched online some land that might be for sale there, which was Secret Beach, land near Secret Beach. Okay, so San Pedro, you have to go everywhere on a golf cart. So I got this golf cart, and I took this tremendously long ride to Secret Beach. And I was like, are they serious? Are they kidding me? Am I lost? Did I pass the beach? It cannot be this far. So I go all the way out to Secret Beach, and I see the land that I've been seeing online for sale. And I'm like, they cannot be seriously selling this for this amount of money, because a lot of it is swampland,
Mm-hmm.
limestone. I just don't understand how they would build on it, because I don't understand how they'll get an infrastructure without millions of dollars.
Yeah, I personally believe that Secret Beach is a big Ponzi scheme. People keep
I
buying and
absolutely believe
flipping and
that.
selling, and eventually somebody's going to be like, okay, what's going to happen here? Nobody's buying what I'm trying to sell them. But anyway.
And then you see people trying to buy on Secret Beach, but there's nothing really built up. You might go past one or two houses,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really remote until you get to the beach.
Right.
So that was out. So I planned another trip to come back, but this time talking to locals. Um, Everywhere I go, I immerse myself into the culture where I am. I'm not that person that travels and stays on a resort. If I even book in a resort, I'm off the resort. But I have no problem booking somewhere else. Airbnb, bed and breakfast. In Jamaica, I've stayed at the Ritz, down to a motel that was $50 a night,
Oh yeah.
which basically had a clean shower and air conditioning.
You stayed in Mobay at the Gloucestershire.
No, it was kind of easy.
I stayed there.
We
I
stayed there.
stayed
There's a
there.
lot of
I stayed there.
prostitution going on.
Oh
You
man,
know,
my,
they
my
do
don't know nothing
things.
about them thing there.
No,
Wow,
no,
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 me
no, no.
not man
I
idea
mean,
what them
they rent
blue
those
thing here.
rooms out. They rent those rooms out for that.
Let
You
me
know where
tell
I
you,
stayed?
no,
I
Misty.
stayed near the pork pit. You know where the pork pit is,
That's what
right?
me say. Me stay at the Gloucestershire. We go across the Doctor's Cove Beach, walk
Love
down to
Doctor's
the
Food.
pork pit every day. Me
Yes,
tell you
yes.
something. Yam up some good food, man, and walk right back.
When I hit doctor, I used to have a membership, a yearly membership to Doctor's Cave. That's how often I went.
Oh
So the
wow,
head
okay.
lifeguard, his name was Brian. And whenever I would go, they would order lunch because the locals know where everything is. So they would order lunch and they would order lunch for me, and I would get this huge lunch for $4.
Now let me tell you something. This is back in 2005. I was a solo trip because me and my wife at the time had gotten kicked off of a, you know how you get bumped on planes?
Hmm.
And so I had a free ticket. And she was like, I'm done with Jamaica. We had been there twice already. So I went back by myself. And that's when I stayed at the Gloucestershire. I used my little fake patois and got a local discount. So I only paid like $35, $45 a night for the joint. And I went to a bashment in Tone. Man, I was scared. And do you know about the Pink House?
No,
The house up in the hills?
I may have heard of it.
Well, Tally yard, man. I know about the house in the hills. We're not going to talk about them thing there, but
See,
yeah,
so
so,
that's one thing I love about Black and Brown countries. You and I and people that look like us can go and be accepted. Like I've never felt. I feel safe. I travel. I only travel solo. I've been on maybe 2 or 3 vacations with a man and one on a girls trip. I don't like traveling with women. Just that's a whole nother thing. Like I'm on time. I'm ready to go.
right.
But but I feel really safe. I've never you hear people say, "Oh, don't leave the resort," or "This is dangerous," or "That is dangerous." Knock on wood, I have never experienced that. Most times when people in those countries realize that I'm solo, they start to look out for me.
Right. Right.
So I'm sure you had a great time because they love us, they welcome us.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're not trying to put on airs and treat people different, when you're just trying to really be just another human being, speak, want to reason with another human being. I've never felt any type of anywhere where I go because I come with a level of humbleness and I'm
Absolutely.
really interested in the culture.
In the culture.
Right. But let's fast forward a little bit. So eventually you did decide to buy some land in Belize.
So on my second trip to Belize, which was my real estate trip for Belize and land, um, I had this gentleman take me all over the mainland. And one of the reasons I chose Belize is because it's on the mainland, it's drivable, or you can fly. So I always like contingency plans. I need to know there's another way I can get in or out for whatever reason. I don't know what may happen, but I like that. I like the safety of that. Even if I have to walk for 20 weeks, I like that. And the language was English. So I didn't have to learn French or Spanish. Even if I pick up some Spanish, which would be helpful in Belize, I'm okay if I don't. So this gentleman drove me all over the mainland. We started in Placencia. I landed in Belize City, took the small plane to Placencia, and he met me there, picked up my rental vehicle. I found land online that I thought I wanted to see in Placencia because at the time I was this big beach person. And I'm like, okay, I look in Placencia, find me someplace that's inexpensive right on the beach. Well, in Placencia, maybe a 50 by 50 lot in Placencia is probably about 100,000. Back then, it was 100,000 US to 120,000 US. And that was 5 years ago. So it's way more now. And
Yeah.
100,000 is out of my range. I'm your average person. I have a blue collar job. Um, I don't make a lot of money. People think that we make a lot of money, but I have a home here that I have to tend to, and bills here. So $100,000 is out of range for me. My goal is to not have any debt, to have a home there that I'm only paying utilities on, and my home here that I only pay utilities
Right.
for.
Right.
So we started in Placencia. Turned out I couldn't afford it. It was out of my range.
Mm.
So we drove to other places. We drove to Dangriga. The good thing was he had family in most of the places that we went. So we stopped at some of his family members' houses, and I saw how the Belizeans lived and really what was going on. Just like anywhere else I went, I immersed myself in the culture. And I couldn't find anything. We went to Sati River Village. Everything was swampy, and I didn't know as much as I know now. So I didn't know that I would have to be concerned with water and electricity. I came there with an American's mindset of I'm going to buy land and it's going to have what I need. I'll just plop a house down, right? But
That's not even Americans' mindset. That's really a city person because, believe me, there's
right
places in
in urban
Oklahoma and
areas,
Tennessee and
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
it's
Where
just,
you need a septic tank. It's places in Delaware you need a septic tank. Because I'm an urban person.
right.
All that stuff was alien to me. So all these places I was looking at, they were horrible. They were swampy. They were like, I thought I was being punked. Like you can't be trying to get this much money for this. So we drove and we drove and we drove, and finally he suggested that we go to where he grew up, which was in Stan Creek, Independence. We drove there.
You got to say it the Belizean way. Stan Crick.
You are so right. I never
Stan Crick.
realized that. You are
Yeah.
so right.
Yeah.
So when we got there, ironically, it was my birthday. And this gentleman, you can attest to this. This gentleman, he was Creole, as they say in Belize. He looked like he could have been Puerto Rican or a light-skinned black or a Dominican. Okay. His father was very, very dark, what the Jamaicans would call a coolie,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Dark with straight hair. He had family members that he introduced me to, varying shades. Some could pass for white. They all had the same mother and father. Some could pass for white. One had red hair and freckles. One was dark. Then there was him. In any event, his dad, went and got his guitar when he found out it was my birthday, and he played on his guitar and sang "Happy Birthday" to me.
Oh.
So his dad said he didn't have any land, and he said, go and ask your uncle, see if your uncle has any land. So we ride around. We finally locate his uncle, and his uncle says, "I have some land I can show you," and he takes me to a couple pieces of land. One piece was on a lagoon, and I didn't like that because the water was still. And I don't know if you can attest to, but I can attest to the mosquitoes in Belize.
Yeah.
They are like the mafia. So on the lagoon, I wasn't really interested in that because of the mosquito situation. He showed me another place, and I fell in love. So I told him that I liked it, but I was going to look at these other places that I had appointments to go in and look at. So we left. We went to look at those other places. I talked the rest of the day about the piece of land that I saw that he showed me. And I was like, we don't need to see these other places. I like this place. So I make a deal with the uncle, and this is where we get into how to buy land in Belize. Because there's leased land, and then there's titled land.
How to or how not to?
Yeah, that's another way to look at it. Because you can easily lose your money in Belize. And, as I said before, Aladumare, the Orishas, my ancestors, they were all with me, with the people that I met. They put good people on my path. And I met some honest people with good intentions. I was not fleeced, and I was able to acquire this land. I recently spoke to a Belizean real estate agent who was fleeced out of 14,000 American dollars. This was 3 days ago. Yes. She was purchasing a piece of leased land, and the seller has sold that one piece of land to her and three other people.
So this was a Belizean that got taken
This
advantage
was a
of.
Belizean.
Yeah.
Yes. So that tells you how rampant and how easy it is. So,
Yeah,
like I said,
you
I
gotta do
was
your due
blessed.
diligence. You gotta get a lawyer. You gotta know somebody that knows how to do land searches and title searches and stuff like that.
So the gentleman that I eventually bought my piece of property from, he was a member of the village council in Independence. So in Belize they have villages, and if you're on village council, you're like a politician. You're somebody important. You get things done. You get some, what are those things called? Those concrete things for when the water is flooding. I need to learn all these terms because
A culvert.
yes, right. So anyway, this process with him, his land was leased, and the process is that something has to be built onto the land for the government to see, the Belizean government to see that you intend to use the land for something. So before I left on that trip, I went to the hardware store, I went to the cement place, I went to all these places, and I opened some accounts with them, and I gave them a certain amount of money for supplies, and then I would call them if they needed more once I left. So I had a wall built around the property, a cement wall with a chain link fence, and then a surveyor had to come out, survey the land, give the exact measurements, whatever else they do. But this gentleman had to make appointments for that. And in Belize, everything is slow. So there was months to wait for the appointment. And then if there's a holiday, the offices are closed for 3 and 4 days, maybe longer. And then certain days of the week, they only work a half a day. And if you try to rush a Belizean, they will look at you like you're crazy. Like, what is the rush? What? It's going to happen. Maybe in 2 years it'll happen, but it's going to happen.
Tomorrow.
Yes,
Tomorrow.
yes. So we had to go through this with the surveyor, and then the survey submitted. He submitted whatever he submitted, and then the gentleman that I bought the land from, he had to get the title in his name. So once he got the title in his name, then I had to come down, give him more money to do the actual sale. We wind up using a broker. So this was the Belizean way. Us as Americans, whoever else, like you said, you need a lawyer. Well, he spoke to his friends and other council members or whatever, and they pointed him in the direction of a broker. So he found the broker, and the broker did the documentation for us or whatever else we needed. And then it was a waiting game. Finally, the title came in his name. Then we had to wait for everything to be switched to my name. So I flew down for that, signed paperwork. And of course, it being Belize, they're going to tell you probably in about 2 months, you're going to get it. So they took my email address and my address, and they said, we're going to email you when it's ready. Central Bank has to do some stuff. And a year and 2 months went by.
Yeah, I know as a Westerner, as an American, typically we want to own things. But I will tell folks, if you're interested in moving abroad, leased land is a cheaper price point, a cheaper way to get land. Um, you're not going to be able to leave it to your kids, per se. Um, but it's a way to, if you want to build a homestead and you just want to live free and cheap, lease land is an option for some people. And, it may take a few years, but you can actually own the land. So, you know, title land is better, but lease land is a viable option for folks at a decent price point. So, I would if since I don't you've never told me what you paid for that land, but it wasn't more than $10,000, right?
No, it wasn't.
Right.
But know also that the titled land is going to be much more expensive than the leased land.
That's my point. You can if you do lease land, you could get a lot to build on for 5,000 US. In some parts down south, in some different places, not even down south, different parts of the country. Um, but like the sister said, the challenge is it may not have infrastructure. It's not going to have water. You're going to have to do some type of rainwater cistern or get a well dug. You may have to use solar or run the power lines. Um, but all that stuff is still way cheaper than what we do here. Let me tell you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Wait. My our taxes that we pay annually could buy a decent solar setup um, to run a house. I mean, you get three or four 300-watt solar panels, a decent inverter, a couple batteries, you're good to go. So it is doable.
So let
Um,
me say something on that,
hmm
on the solar system. The gentleman that from Sleeping Giant that does things for me, he suggested if I go solar. So let me back up. The land that I have in Independence, I have electricity and I have water.
hmm
So I was super blessed. You and I have discussed that I also want a piece of jungle property. If I get jungle property, most likely it won't have electricity, and that's very expensive to get that in. So an option for that would be solar. He suggested that I bring back, if I do that, that I bring batteries in with me, because a battery in the US that may be 400 or 500 US is going to cost about 2,500 Belize, which is what, $1,250.
hmm Yeah.
So you can get
Yeah.
the panels there, but the batteries you should bring.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, there's so many different ways to immigrate and to move and to do residency or citizenship. So that's a whole nother conversation. But let's talk about some of the we've talked about some of the not negative things, but some of the challenges in your journey in terms of coming from Philadelphia, traveling, and you pictured Belize, and it took you some time to get your leased land to be titled land. But what are some of the benefits? What are some of the things that you consider to be a blessing about moving abroad and about Belize in particular?
The things that I'm looking forward to in Belize is the constant sunshine, that constant vitamin D on my skin. Even when it rains, it's going to come right through. The sun's going to come right through a few minutes later. The people of Belize are very, very nice. I have to remind myself whenever I'm in Belize to take off the Philly, because I will speak to someone and it's kind of gruff, and I don't want to say aggressive, but it is assertive, because that's the way you have to be here. Everyone is that way, and you need to know what's going on. Hey, how are you? What's up? When is this going to be ready? I have to take off the Philly when I get to Belize and realize that there's nobody against me. I don't have to be on the defense. I don't have to. I can relax and be calm and bring it down and wait on it, because it actually is no rush. And then the freshness of the food and the fruit, the diet, my diet will be different. It's just going to be a beautiful peacefulness that I can't wait to actually be able to have for an extended period of time, not just on vacation.
So the one good thing about where your land is you're close to the water. So tell me, are you a seafood person?
Very much so.
Tell me about the fresh seafood. Talk about that.
What I like about the seafood is that it's fresh every day. If you get some fish, it's just coming out of the water. You're not going to the supermarket and it's frozen, or maybe you go to, like, we have a lot of Asian markets here. They have fish markets and they have the fish on ice, and once a week they get deliveries or whatever. But if in Belize, you want to get your stuff that day when you eat it, it was in the ocean swimming, not long before you ate it.
Here's what sold me, right? So I love Hopkins, right? Because I've actually, I've never done Mango Creek or Independence. My thing is Hopkins. So there's this place called Maxim's, which is literally a shack on the beach, right? So I would go to Maxim's, get me Belizean, so-called Belizean breakfast. Except I get me a piece of fried fish, some eggs with the beans, right, and fried jack. But
Fried
the
chicken.
first time I went, right, so you park on the little side street where literally the road runs into the beach.
But I think
it
I've
stops.
eaten there.
Yeah, it goes from a paved road to a dirt road to sand. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just.
Yes.
So I look as I'm sitting waiting for my food, and I see the guys with a little. It's like a little stand. He just put there. And I asked the brother, like, "Yo, what's going on there?" He said, "Man, they're selling a fresh catch." So literally, the fishermen boats are on the beach. They come in from catching the fish and sell the fish right there on the beach. So when you're talking about fresh, you know, this stuff was alive a few hours ago that they're selling. And that's what I love about Belize. Like the food. I went to a restaurant, Innis, which is a Garifuna place, right? A Garifuna restaurant. And so she was making me some sour sop punch. And I said, man, I wish I could taste the actual fruit. And she said, well, our soursop almost done. I said, well, where do you buy the soursop to make your punch? She says it come from the garden. So this is a restaurant, and they grow the food that they need to cook in their restaurant. So when they
Mm-hmm.
use fresh coconut milk, there's some places that go and buy coconut milk. Other than that, they crack the coconut, they put it in a blender, they grind it up, they strain it, and make their
Absolutely.
own coconut milk. So what you or I are paying $3 for some processed four fifty for some processed coconut milk, they're getting off the tree and
In your
making it right
yard.
there, right to eat. So and it just amazed me. I was walking down the street in PG, and there was like just fruit on trees walking down the street. I'm like, yo, I saw a pick it was a cashew fruit one time. I just ate it, not knowing anything about a cashew. It numb up my lip a little bit, but just breadfruit and mango. People got these trees in their yard, and it's just there. I mean, so many coconuts just going to waste. Like they fall off. So many
Yes, because they
bananas
fall off.
just going to waste. Like they fall off the tree, and so we talk about living in a place with abundance. Like I remember asking somebody, "Where are the homeless people?" This is in Hopkins again. There's no homeless people. It's like there's one. They said there's one little crazy guy running around town, but there's no homeless people.
And for the most part, everyone's happy.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not even. We would look at them and think this is a poverty or immense poverty or whatever. They're okay. They're great. They're very grateful, happy, humble people, and I can appreciate that.
yeah. It's a blessing. So, the food, the sunshine, anything else?
I feel comfortable and I feel free. I don't feel afraid. I don't feel under a microscope or watched. I just feel I can't pick a better word than free.
Yeah, one of my good. He's become a good brethren to me. Is a Mayan guy, and I love the Mayan culture. Even though he's an urban Mayan, he's a Maya guy, but he left the village, when he was real little, and he's my carpenter, my foreman, and his family just. I'm learning so much about people just as people because they don't see me as anything, just a human being, right? Even though I'm a foreigner, I'm Western. They know I have a certain amount of resource to do whatever, but um, I don't feel like I'm judged as a quote unquote black man, right?
Absolutely.
Where I don't have to always be on guard or worry about the police who are going to treat me unfairly, right? And I know people that talked about, when they're in different foreign countries, they get, what is it called? A gringo price. I've never felt like I've gotten a gringo price. I mean, partly because I'll go in and I'll use my little, you know, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Nondescript Caribbean accent, right? And so I don't feel like I'm being treated unfairly. And that is such a liberating thing. I think it lowers my blood pressure. It makes me feel at
Yes.
peace, and that's what I really love.
I don't I don't think so like you said, when people there look at me, I don't feel like they're seeing anything except for me. And I've questioned in some forums, I've asked questions about racism because I've heard or seen people's comments and who the comments came from. And a couple of years ago, I was in a forum and someone talked about the crime. And they were like, oh, it's so dangerous in Curacao. They're doing this to the expats, which I don't even want to consider myself an expat. I'm not in that group. But they rob us and blah, 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 blah. And I said, you are scaring me. This was my comment. I've never heard about this. And then a few seconds later, my inbox dinged. I went into the inbox and it was a Belizean that was also in the forum. And he said to me, you don't have anything to worry about, sister. That's the gringos. He said the people from Texas and Canada bring bad vibes here and bring racism here, and then they suffer. And I even had the Belizean real estate agent I was telling you about that happened to a few days ago. She was talking about the Trumpsters to
Mm-hmm.
me. And she said, don't worry, they come here and they have these ideas of what they're going to change and what they're going to do. But once that they see that it's not going to happen, they leave.
Yeah,
And I was very satisfied with that answer.
yeah, it's funny. When I see these people in these groups and they have a certain air to them, I'm like, oh yeah, you want to go to Ambergris Key, you want to go to San Pedro and Secret Beach.
Yes.
That's where you need to be.
Yes. Yes.
Don't go there. Let's keep them over there.
Yes.
And
That's where
it's
they
not
all
it's not
migrate to
and
anyway.
it could be somebody like a race thing, but like my neighbor is a white guy, and he looks like he is like somebody just took him up and dipped him in like a Mayan village because he has assimilated very well. It wasn't the opposite where he expects Belize to become Western. He changed himself. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one thing I've learned. Sometimes when they get to black and brown countries and they realize that they're outnumbered and outgunned, so to speak,
Yeah, yeah.
they know they act accordingly.
Yeah, and so there are some good, like even the Mennonites. The Mennonites are quote unquote whatever, but they have a whole different,
Yeah.
you
The
know.
Mennonites, they stick
Yeah,
to themselves. They seem to be very nice, polite people. Like I haven't had any issues with them. I visit Linda Vista
hmm
to price a house. I don't know what I'm, I was on the fence about what type of house I was going to get.
Okay, you were going to visit
So
the prefab
I
house.
took a ride out there and I liked what I saw. Again, they didn't give me any bad feelings. I felt comfortable in the entire country.
Now people are commenting, but I can't see any comments. Um, let's see, Rashida said something. I think the other sister, Mama Gigi, said
They
something.
have questions.
Let's see. Can I see viewers' comments? Show comments. Viewers' comments showing. Okay, well, maybe somebody's not saying anything.
What's your Facebook name? I mean your YouTube.
No, they're on Facebook. Facebook people will comment, but it's not
Oh.
showing up yet. Um, but yeah. So I think the people are real chill, real laid back. I love it. It's one of my favorite things, and just the way it's like this is something crazy, but the way it smells. Like I love walking outside and smelling flowers and just the greenery. It's amazing. And I've been to Belize in all different seasons. I've been in the dead of winter here, February and December, same
The
thing.
smell of the jungle is
Yeah,
intoxicating.
yeah,
The birds,
yeah.
even the howling monkeys.
Oh yeah, which right there on my line. I had this one video of me with the monkeys, like just chilling up there. I'm like, yo, what's up? And they stopped moving when I was talking to them. But yeah, I love it. The only thing not skeptical about that. So I live in a place. I live in a city where 300 people get murdered a year, right? In a geographical space, a very small space, right? Like in Baltimore, very dangerous place. I'm used to that, right? I know what hoods to avoid. I know what not to do. I know what not to be. I don't know how to avoid the scorpion. Although
Right?
scorpions aren't deadly, but I don't know how to avoid. Like I have to. It's like a new challenge. Like I don't know how to avoid. And again, y'all, scorpions are not deadly. They will hurt like a bee or a wasp, but they're not deadly. But we do have. There are snakes in Belize, right? There are jaguars, although nobody
There's
ever.
a beware of jaguar sign near your land.
Don't be telling people where my land is.
How many
How many
beware of
people?
jaguar? How many beware of jaguar signs are there in
I have
Belize?
not seen no beware of jaguar. So I don't know what you talking about.
Oh,
Where is it?
okay. I will send you a picture. I took a
No,
picture
where
of
is
it.
it? Is it on the hummingbird or is it somewhere else?
It's on the hummingbird.
That was a
Yes.
beware of. That was a beware of. Give
The
nothing.
what's the
Oh, the
other thing?
cow.
The
The cow. They call it a jungle
no, the
cow.
tar.
Um, I know what you're talking about. The Maya call it a jungle cow.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I'm going to send
tapir.
you a picture of it because I took a picture of it.
It's called a tapir.
Tapir. Okay.
Tapir. Yeah, yeah. Down there, near the resort, near the resort. There's
Sleeping
some
Giant.
signs. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There's signs on there. That's just to make tourists excited. But no,
Okay. Okay.
there's a snake. There's a snake that my guys say they said they've killed about 10 of them on my land. I never when I go there I
So
don't
there's a
see it.
nest.
Huh?
There's a
No.
nest then.
There's a nest. What it is when the grass grows tall, the snakes are trying to eat mice and grasshoppers, and so that's where they go for the food. They ain't trying to mess with you. But
As long as they're not poisonous, I mean,
fer de lance. There are fer-de-lance in my area, and there's something called a night crawler that looks like something from the "We Got to Move It, Move It, We Got to Move It, Move It." That cartoon. They look like that. They big eyes, but they're small. They're harmless. They're all vegetarians. But it's a different challenge, and that's what actually I love. I love the challenge of when my homestead is set up, um, I will be able to feed myself. Right. My goal is to grow 70% of what I consume that I know is fresh. I'll do my rainwater catchment. Solar, I'm still on the fence about. I don't know. I think I'm going to be on grid because I want air conditioning at least
yeah.
at least one in my bedroom, right? And yeah, just to 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 live, to finally be a human being where I am living, where I'm not worrying about a 9 to 5, and my bills are very minuscule, y'all. When I tell you my property taxes on my land in Belize are $7.50 a year.
Yes.
750, y'all. You know,
Yes.
chump change. What we spend on a coffee and a piece of I don't know, piece of bun, piece of bread in the morning time on my property taxes there, and they don't take your houses. Here, Philly, Baltimore, we don't pay our property taxes for a couple of years. Even if the house is paid for, they take your house. They take your house for water bills. The U.S. is a punitive colony. That's all it is. Everything's about punishment. And here, I feel like The police, the whole legal system, at every chance is trying to lock me up. Like I was indicted at birth, and if I don't make every little step correctly, right, I'll get locked up. You know, and that's not a good way to live for your whole. That's why black men have, depression and alcoholism and can be abusive at some points because it's like you feeling really indicted at birth and you're not really free to be who you are. But so we're getting close up on an hour here, sis. Would you recommend black Americans to move to Belize?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know that I'm looking for land closer in the area where you are because I want community. And I think if they came and they saw how it was, well, when we have our own, we do well anyway. We flourish.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were given the opportunity to flourish somewhere modern day flourishing,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a beautiful thing. I absolutely believe that. And it's affordable. Like, just try, just have your own. It's so many things that we are just learning about, um, life insurance, things that create generational wealth for us, and things that can help our kids or just make us happy and comfortable. We're just, I would say, the last two generations, we're just starting to explore those things in mass. So why not? Why not have some place where you can come and live a different way, if not full time, then part time?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, get yourself an online job, and this after Christmas, bounce.
Now, so yes,
When the
that's good you
snow
said that
starts
because you
falling,
have to be a digital nomad.
bounce.
You won't be
Yeah,
able to work in Belize.
yeah, yeah. If you want to, working in Belize would be like taking a pay cut because the money is half,
Huge pay cut.
and the average person only makes about $10,000 or $12,000 Belizean a year, which is 5 or 6 US a year. So, but it doesn't take that much to live. That's the point. If you have the average person in the country only making $1,000, $500 US a month, if you got the whole country living off of that, what do you think you can do? It's the same thing, folks. You can live abroad much cheaper. And Belize is just one country. Before we used to hear about these places and we were scared of them: Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala,
Mexico.
Mexico. No. People are living well, very well, off of what they earn here and take it somewhere else. And then let's go even further. Let's talk about Thailand. Let's talk about the Philippines. You know, places where your dollar gives you immense value. And so we are global people, right? We are international. We don't have to be just stuck in one space. And you don't have to make a lot. I have a friend that used to do online customer service, right? Now, I know a lot of the countries have rules where you can't really work. I didn't want you to really be where you're supposed to be. But if you could get a job like that, you know, making $30,000 a year, and you're living in another country, you're on easy street, right? And as an American immigrant, because that's what we'll be immigrants. It's funny how when people come here, they're immigrants, but when we go to places, we're so-called expats. No, when you're an immigrant in another
Mm-hmm.
country, right, and a resident of another country, your tax burden is lessened here in the states. So right now, if you make $100,000 a year in the U.S., if you move abroad, you're not taxed. Right now in 2022, the tax threshold is $107,000. So if you earn $107,000 or less and are a resident somewhere else, you pay no federal or state tax. None. So that means if you get your little check for $1,000 a week and it's got $300 taken out of it, no, you're going to get all of that. Maybe I think you still got to pay Social Security, stuff, something like that, but you get most of that money. And so not only can you live better, but you can actually save and just have a better quality of life. So that's what I'm about. I'm about promoting us as black folks to open up our minds to the world, not just to be, in these little boxes. We've got
Don't
to
fall
be.
for the propaganda.
Yeah, don't fall for the banana in my tailpipe. That's a little Eddie Murphy joke. Y'all don't know about that. But yeah, we're a global people. We don't have to be stuck. And some people say, well, why would I want to leave the land that my ancestors worked for? Because this ship is sinking. Babylon,
Big
your
time.
kingdom is falling.
And
Judgment's on.
Belize is considered a pretty expensive country for the Caribbean.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll be okay. We'll manage very well. I'll be able to maintain my home here and maintain my home in Belize
Yeah.
off my pension.
Right. Ooh, she got a pension. We're gonna find you a brethren. We're gonna find a who wants to date Kim. Oh man.
Do you have a passport? Does he have a passport?
He better have a passport. But look, so you would advise Black Americans to come to Belize and at least visit.
Without a doubt.
And let's see. The last question is: are there any other things that you would want any of our 5 viewers to know, or anyone who subsequently watches this, that you would want them to know?
Pack your patience and expect to be very happy. It's going to happen.
I see. And look, Kim, Mama Gigi, I talked to a couple weeks ago. Single women doing a damn thing, right? Making it happen. Not being fearful, but walking out, going to other countries, and living their best life abroad. So anybody can do it. There's no excuses. I talked to a friend who said, "Man, everybody can't afford that." Unless you are dead broke, like, and have no money, anybody can afford it. If you spending $50 on weed, or no, $100 on weed every week, you can.
That's
afford
rent. That's rent for an apartment.
it. Yeah, right. And I guess the weed might be cheap over there too. I don't know, but
Grow your own.
hey, my name is Bennett, and I ain't in it. All right, so Sister G, let's call you Sister Kim. Thank you so
No
much
worries.
for
Thank you.
coming on Sunday, taking time out. So
No
yeah, hopefully people have comments. They can get up with you and.
Hope so. If they have any questions, I'm in Facebook jail for the next 18 days.
Are you still in Facebook jail?
I got 30 days. I'm a felon. I'm a Facebook felon.
How you gonna be the popo and be in Facebook jail?
I'm very radical.
I tell you, I hear that. But well, sister, anything you want to ask me? Any questions? We want to turn the tables around.
No, I want you to, what I want to ask you. I won't say it on here. You have 15 of them, you only need 14. But, that's
Man, get out my pocket. Anyway, but we go.
Other than that, whoever's watching, send me a friend request. There's someone, the lady that I told you about, Spy Moonshine.
Oh, Sandra, yeah. What about her?
Yes, if she's watching, please send me a friend request.
Oh, Sandra. Okay, I'm a big up her now. Send her a little shout out. She around.
I love her YouTube channel. I want to talk to her. I want to be in her community.
And she's over there teaching and doing the doggone thing, having a good conversation. Even though I ain't like the way the brothers was represented in that video.
If you don't stop, those women were speaking their truth.
Tell you, y'all hollering the brothers all over the world, man. We catching it.
No, brothers hard on us. Go down there, mentor.
They don't want me to be no mentor. They gonna have a protest sign. Do not listen to Kamal. Do not listen to Kamal. Huh?
That's the cue coming out.
I know. I'm all about traditionality, man.
Yeah, okay.
Get back to these ways. Let y'all relax. That's why these shoulders are broad. Meant to carry the weight. Y'all just chill. But
yeah, like that.
That would be that submission word. But we don't want to talk about that. Anyway. Whatever. I ain't gonna put you on blast like that, y'all. She submit to the right man. Don't let her front on you like that. But you better come correct, because she'll shoot you. All right, y'all. Well, again,
All right.
until
Happy
next
Sunday, everybody.
next time, peace and blessings.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
She.